Hello, greetings, and warm welcome to yet another episode of Me Too Personal Development Insights with Subila. Here we share insights on personal development because we are passionate about helping you to meet yourself. You must realize one thing in this life: you are the one to announce yourself to us and to society out there, not the other way round. I think the greatest mistake that people make is that they allow their lives to flow in the opinions of what other people say about their lives, or even other institutions say about their life. But I want you to know that what any other institution will have to say about you is probably speculation. You are the one to actually announce to us who you are. But how can you announce a self that you do not know? Therefore, it is important that you commit to personal development, because personal development kickstarts the journey to your own self-discovery. Once you discover what lies deep within you, then you manifest it. And once you manifest, you bless all of us. We should be blessed by what you are loaded with. And remember that a commitment to personal development will do something to your self-awareness. It is going to raise your level of self-awareness. And once you raise your level of self-awareness, this actually improves the quality of the choices that you make in life. And once you improve the quality of your own choices, it is ultimately going to improve the quality of your own life. And this has a ripple effect on the quality of life of whatever you associate yourself with. So the organizations you are privileged to be a part of, even the nation that you belong to, will be blessed. Because remember, no business can go where the owner has never been. No family can go where the owner has never been. So if you are privileged to be in charge of a family, of a business, or a department, be it in government, just know that you must go where you intend to take that particular department or business. So it all begins with you. That's why at Me Too, we preach personal development. To take you through the insights for today, I am your host, Subila Kaunda. Now, previously I introduced a special teaching on thinking, and I mentioned that your brain is a critical component in your personal development journey. In fact, I should mention it's impossible to maximize and actualize the personal development we talk about if you decide to put your brain on hold. Your brain is a critical component, one of man's most critical tools for survival on earth. Remember, every living creature has been endowed with a tool for surviving here on earth, because life on earth is full of challenges, and every living creature immediately rushes to that tool that it has been endowed with anytime trouble strikes. Therefore, for you and me, the tool that we were endowed with to overcome the challenges of life on earth is the brain. Now, even though this organ only weighs about an average of 3 pounds in an adult, it is one of the most critical organs in your body, because the functions it performs are absolutely incredible, and they are quite a number. The brain in you is the reason why you are able to breathe in and out. The brain that is in you is the reason why you are able to eat. The brain in you is the reason why you're able to taste and feel anything you touch. The brain in you is the reason why you are able to remember. It has a part that is responsible for memory. The brain in you is the reason why you are able to balance. The functions that your brain perform, you cannot enjoy life if your brain was not functioning. Now, if your brain is this powerful, if this is the amount of investment God deposited in your brain, then why don't people use their brains? Why do they decide not to rely on this very powerful tool? Now, this is what we want to focus on in this episode. We will be discussing the inhibitors, or the enemies, or the factors that make it difficult for people to utilize this faculty of the brain, which is called the logic side, the thinking side. What makes it difficult for people to think? What makes it hard for people to plan? We're going to analyze in this particular episode the enemies of logic, or the enemies of your ability to think. Why is it difficult then for people to think? So the factor number one that I want to share with you that makes it difficult for people to engage in thinking, for people to engage in planning, because if you can think, what you have is enough. Your brain was there to help you think your way to the top, think your way to success. Now, if your brain is such a critical component for your own success in life, then why do most people struggle to use it? Here are some of the factors. Number one, it is the wrong assumption. Factor number one is what I call the wrong assumption. Listen to me. Your brain has many parts, and each part performs a unique function. But guess what? You are not aware as these parts are forming, as you are growing, as you are developing, as your brain is developing. Why? Because they happen without necessarily you being aware. They do not happen by you engaging in them manually. No, they happen automatically. So when a human being is forming, the brain is forming, and all these necessary parts form without even you realizing it. And not only does it form without your awareness, even most of the functions of the brain happen without your direct involvement. Right now, do you know that you are able to breathe in and out because there's a part in your brain responsible for that? You are growing every day because there's a part in your brain that is responsible for releasing the growth hormones that actually enhance your growth. Right now, you're able to feel and touch, or whatever it is that touches your body, you're able to sense it and be able to tell what it is because your brain, there's a part in your brain that is functioning. In other words, most of these major functions in your brain were automated by God. They have been automated. So all of these functions happen so fast and happen automatically without your involvement. But this is where sometimes we get it twisted, because in as much as most of these major functions of your brain happen without your involvement, happen automatically because God wired them in such a way that they are automated, there are certain functions of your brain that require your active participation. And one of them, which is major, is planning. Planning is not on automation. Reasoning is not automatic. In other words, even though God automated these other powerful functions in your brain, one other important function that God himself invites you to, it's even stated in Isaiah 1 verse 18, he tells you, come, let us reason together. In other words, God, after designing you and designing your brain, he makes all these other functions automatic. They are automated. No need for you to be actively involved or manually involved, but he leaves certain parts like reasoning for you to be involved in, and he says, come, let us reason together. So to assume that because all these other parts and all these other functions have been automated, therefore even the part of planning, even the part of thinking, even the part of reasoning has been automated, is a wrong assumption. So the wrong assumption is one of the reasons why people don't actively engage this amazing tool that they are in possession of, which is the brain. Don't assume that planning will happen automatically. Do not assume that goal setting will happen automatically. These other functions of your brain, you must be actively involved. So the wrong assumption is one major reason why people do not utilize the faculty of the brain. The second major reason that I've found as an enemy or an inhibitor of thinking, what makes it difficult for people to apply logic, to plan, to use this part of the brain, is emotions and feelings. Emotions and feelings. Now, I want you to know this. Emotions and feelings are what make life what it is for us. Life would lose taste if we were detached from the emotions and the feelings that we experience. Think about it. When your son is graduating, or you have been blessed with a bouncing baby boy, bouncing baby girl, the joy that comes from such an experience, you must be able to feel it. That joy is not meant to be on paper. You must feel it. When you pass your exams and you are headed for your graduation, that joy must be felt. That happiness must be felt. When you have lost your loved ones, it's a sad moment. That pain must be felt. In other words, feelings and emotions are what actually add flavor to life. Imagine experiencing life with all these events happening and yet you cannot feel them. It's like eating food that looks delicious but yet you can't taste it. That's how life would be if feelings and emotions were taken away from us. So feelings and emotions are here to stay. If we divorce these from human beings, then human beings would cease to be human. But feelings and emotions, even though they are part of us, I want you to know that they claim a stronger side of your life. All of us naturally rely on our feelings and our emotions, and that sometimes this becomes very difficult for us to engage in planning and thinking. Now, I want you to know that something happens for you to feel. Let me give you a short explanation of how emotions come about. Your brain was designed by God to interpret anything it receives as two signals. In other words, everything your brain will ever receive, it will translate it or reduce it to two possible signals. Either it is a threat or it is a reward. And God designed it this way because there's a part of your brain that is responsible for releasing chemicals that we call hormones. This part of the brain is called the hypothalamus. It's the one that commands your pituitary gland to release the chemicals. Now, as the chemicals in your body are released, which we call hormones, and they flow from your brain to your body, there's a sensation that you feel. The resultant effect of the feeling that kicks into your body as these hormones are released is what we call emotions. That is the simple explanation I can give about emotions and why you experience them. So these will always be a part of us. In other words, whatever happens to you, your brain will interpret it as either a threat, and if it interprets it as a threat, what will happen in your brain now is that your brain is going to command the release of stress hormones. There are two major stress hormones in your body, what we call the adrenaline. It's a stress hormone. The other major stress hormone is the cortisol. When the brain releases these hormones, your body now gets a feeling that prepares it either to fight or for flight. But if what your brain receives, it interprets it as a reward, as something good happening in your life, as an opportunity, then the hormones that are released are called the feel-good hormones. This is where the oxytocin comes in. Those are feel-good hormones. But when the feel-good hormones are released, they also spark a certain feeling in you, certain emotions in you. In other words, these chemicals will always be released as long as your brain is being triggered by what is happening in your life. So emotions and feelings will always happen in your life automatically. Okay? Because they are sparked by the events and the happenings that happen in your own life. But I want you to know that there is no chemical that will be released by your brain to make you plan. There is no chemical that will be released by your brain to make you set goals. In other words, if you don't go above how you feel, if you do not ride above your feelings and your emotions, it will be difficult for you to engage this logic part of your brain that is responsible for your planning. You will never feel like planning. You will never feel like setting goals. These are disciplined habits that must be birthed by your discipline to do these things. So you won't feel like it, but go ahead and feel like it. So emotions and feelings, even though they are part of life and they define what life is, they add flavor to life, they are also a danger. They are also a threat. They actually a culprit that make it difficult for you to plan and engage in thinking. So you must be a champion who is able to ride above emotions and engage the part of your brain which is the logic and begin to set goals and plan, even if you do not feel like it. So emotions and feelings are the second major enemy that make it difficult for people to think, for people to plan, for people to set goals. The third major enemy of logic or thinking that I've come to realize is abundance and success. Abundance and success. Somebody said that your brain is at its sharpest, your mind is at its sharpest when you're going through difficult times. Why? Good times are the way they encourage laziness in us. No wonder the Bible says that you should never despise your days of humble beginnings. Now, I am not here to promote lack and scarcity, but even though lack and scarcity are despised, planning your way out of lack and scarcity is heavily encouraged. Why? Because success and abundance that will hit you by accident will ruin you. I've seen many successful entrepreneurs who, first of all, made billions or millions, even in dollars, almost by accident. Like it happened, they just started and it happened. Such, you realize that immediately after a few months, they even went bankrupt. Why? Because the success hit them so sudden, they didn't take time to plan and analyze and figure out what they need to sustain the success. In other words, any abundance or success that hits you accidentally is very difficult to manage, and it just sets you into a lazy mood for thinking. But when you are in difficult moments, you are in luck, almost always you end up thinking and planning